Good evening. I'd like to now call the July 15th, 2025 regular meeting of the Newton County Board of Commissioners to order. I'll ask Commissioner Edwards to have our invocation, and Commissioner Long, if you could lead us in the pledge, please.
Let us pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for another opportunity to come together to do the county's business. We ask that you guide us with your strength and your wisdom. And we ask that you take each family represented tonight, home safely. And we ask these things in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
What is there? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic of which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, the item that we have on the agenda at this time is number 4. It's going to be the adoption of the agenda.
Okay, we need a motion.
Some shit.
Commissioner Long and Commissioner Henderson, all in favor? It's unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next item we have on the agenda is for number 5, citizen comments. This particular item is for agenda topics only. Each person will be granted 3 minutes each. Once the 3 minutes is up, we will call the next person. Again, agenda topics only.
Good evening, Elena Sanders. I am going to speak to actually 3 agenda items, number 11, 14, and 15. Number 11, I would just like to know how much in attorney fees we've actually spent in regards to this agenda item. There is nothing listed on the county website that tells us how much we paid in the current attorney fees for any item. And so we should know that because in 2016, this board, not this particular board, voted to go to an in-house attorney, and we're paying a lot in attorney fees. Also speaking on number 14 and 15 in regards to the grant-related services, I also have the packet that you all have, and there's nothing in that packet that shows an itemized of how much we're paying in services and what they actually did. So I would also like to see that. Maybe it might be on the board or presentation when they have, but we need to know itemized of what has been done, what the consultant has did in regards to maintaining that grant. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any comments to make about agenda items?
Madam Chair, the next item we have on the agenda is going to be reports from the chairman. I am not showing that you have anything listed at this time. So we'll move forward to number 7, and that's going to be reports from our acting county manager, Mr. James Brown.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I do not have anything to report.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item we have is number 8, which is unfinished business. We have none. The next item will be the consent agenda and its approval.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second, please.
Commissioner Henderson and Commissioner Cooper. Okay, all in favor? Okay, there's unanimous.
Thank you. The next item we have is going to be for our new business. It's going to be item number 10, consideration of proposed annexation, map and parcel 0112-017. This is located at 370 Highway 11 into the City of Social Circle. We'll have Ms. Shana Applewhite, our Director of Development Services, and our County Attorney, Mr. Patrick Jogstetter, doing the presentation.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. As you are aware, the City of Social Circle provided notice to the county that the city has received an application to annex property into the corporate limits of the City of Social Circle The property subject to the annexation application is shown on the map up in the screen behind you and in your exhibit books. As you are aware, Georgia law authorizes a county to object to a rezoning application when the county determines that the proposed change in zoning and land use will result in a material increase in burden upon the county, or a substantial change in the intensity of allowable use of the properties, or will authorize or result in land use that differs substantially from existing uses suggested by the county's comprehensive land use plan. The current zoning of the property under the county's zoning is A for agricultural. There's a conditional use on the property that authorizes a gas station without truck parking. The proposed zoning of the property would authorize a mixed-use development, which would include a truck stop, a truck parking facility, hotels, restaurants, and similar uses. Before you is a resolution objecting to the proposed annexation on the basis that I mentioned before, that the change in zoning and land use will result in a material increase upon the county, a substantial change in the intensity of allowable uses, and result in land uses that differ substantially from those suggested by the comprehensive plan and land use map. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you. Patrick, is there any, what were the differences between our original zoning and the one that's proposed by, social circle annexation?
So the county's current zoning on the property is agricultural zoning, which permits, as you would guess, agricultural uses. There is a conditional use which permits a gas station with underground pumps, but prohibits other uses. It's only the gas station with underground pumps. The proposed zoning on the property is essentially a mixed-use development. It authorizes, the plan suggests a full-service truck stop, a hotel, restaurant uses, other retail uses, and that would not be permitted under the county's agricultural zoning, nor would it be permitted under the county's brick store overlay district. Well, I can't say it's prohibited, but it is not the type of use authorized or suggested under the brick store overlay district. The future land use map designates this property as the emerging suburban character area and the live work character area, both of which suggest smaller residentially focused businesses rather than regional focused businesses such as proposed in the plan.
Thank you.
Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to object. That motion would read a resolution by the Board of Commissioners of Newton County, Georgia, objecting to the annexation of property by the city of Social Circle and further stated by the county attorney.
Second. Okay, we have a motion. Commissioner Edwards, second by Commissioner Long. All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you.
Madam Chair, the next item we have is item number 11. It's consideration of proposed de-annexation, map and parcel C 043-048A and C 043-057, located at 91 and 100 Edgefield Lane in the city of Covington. Mr. Patrick Jockstetter and Ms. Shana Applewhite will also present.
Good evening again. This is a little bit of an odd request. We don't see these very often. The owner of the properties identified, which are at 91 Edgefield Lane and 100 Edgefield Lane, have filed an application with the city of Covington to de-annex the property. They are currently located within the city limits. The application requests that they be removed from the city limits and returned to the unincorporated area of Newton County. Georgia law is a little bit odd in this regard in that it requires, in order to effectively de-annex, the city must approve the de-annexation and the county must also approve the de-annexation. So before you is an opportunity for you to approve the de-annexation Your approval will be contingent upon the city of Covington's vote to de-annex the property. These properties together consist of about 1.06 acres. The applicant's stated purpose has been to avoid the city property taxes that they pay and that they do not believe they receive any benefit from. So this is a tax-motivated de-annexation rather than a land-use-motivated de-annexation. And following the actual de-annexation by the city, the county will be called upon to zone the property.
Need an actual.
Okay, do we have a motion?
And the motion will be to approve the de-annexation.
Yeah, so, I just want to say this before we de-annex, is that we as citizens of Covington and citizens of unincorporated Newton County, these taxes are killing us. I pay in the city of Covington, and I'm a senior, like several other folks. I pay double taxes. And I see little benefit paying those double taxes. And anytime I think somebody who really think about all these taxes and how they are, would want to de-annex their property if they could. So having said that, I'd like to make a motion to de-annex the Edgefield property.
Second. Okay, we have a motion, and Commissioner Long, second.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Right.
Okay. That's unanimous then. Thank you.
Madam Chair, the next item we have on the agenda is item number 12, consideration and approval of a debt intergovernmental agreement between Newton County and the City of Covington related to financing construction of the new E911 facility. And Mr. Patrick Jonkstetter will present this.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. As you are all aware, the City of Covington and Newton County jointly operate the E911 Center and have entered into an E911 intergovernmental agreement that authorizes and provides for the operation and maintenance of that facility. You're also all familiar that we've recently undertaken efforts to construct a new E911 facility. We will be doing that by issuing debt. The current E911 agreement provides that the costs of the E911 center are shared between the cities and the county. And the county collects an E911 surcharge on telephone bills, and a portion of that money is used for operations, and a portion of that money is paid into a capital accounts fund, or capital improvement fund, which was created for the sole purpose of improving the facility, and there's money accrued in that. So the amendment to the 911 debt intergovernmental agreement will specifically provide that the new debt to be issued to build the new program or build the new facilities will be serviced by the funds in the capital improvement fund. When those funds are exhausted, or if those funds become exhausted, the county and the cities will share in the debt service the same way we share in all the other expenses, which is a prorated based on the number of calls received. So this just expands our current operating and debt agreement into the new debt. So I recommend you approve this so we can continue to move forward with getting the debt in place for the new building.
Yeah. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Did you have a question?
I had a question. But
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you did right.
Yeah, you did right. Do you have a question?
I do, but he made a motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Edwards. Did you say Commissioner Cooper? And are there any questions, any discussion?
Do you have a, so how long is this agreement?
It'll stay in place, well, it'll stay in place kind of perpetually, but as long as we're continuing to operate the 911 center jointly, we're going to have an agreement that covers it. But the debt-specific portions will remain in place as long as the debt remains in place. And I don't know, as I sit here off the top of my head, what the term of the debt is. I think we're working through that with the financial analysts right now. But it's going to be done in a way they're doing it kind of backwards. We want to make sure we have the funds without all of us having to dip into our pocket to service the debt, and that'll dictate the term of the debt.
Will we see this again?
Yes,
Okay.
you'll see the final bond numbers. Now, the debt's actually being issued by the Public Facilities Authority. You've already adopted a resolution authorizing that to proceed, but we will present all of it to the Board of Commissioners, most of whom sit on the Public Facilities Authority. We'll present it all the details to you.
That makes sense enough. I just want to make sure we got it.
You will.
Check.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
For
Okay, that was unanimous.
Thank you. The next item we have on the agenda is item number 13, and that is going to be discussion to request the potential for a third-party firm to conduct a systematic review of the fire services. Mr. James Brown, our acting county manager, is going to present.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. We're requesting to engage and to look for a third-party firm to do an analysis, systematic through fire services to look at policies, hiring practices, and operational. I have discussed this with the HR director as well as the fire chief. We all in agreement that this needs to they'll be beneficial overall for fire services.
we should.
Okay, any questions? Okay,
Madam Chair, will we need a motion to let James move forward, or just okay? So we won't need a motion, so I make some comments?
sure.
Okay, and James is aware of what I'm gonna say, and I think everybody here is, right? So for the last 8.5 years, from day one, I was dealing with issues pertaining to public safety, in particular fire. And that's transcended 3 fire chiefs, 4 county managers, and even 2 or 3 or 4 chairmen. So these issues don't seem to be going away. I know there's 3 sides to every story. So I asked James and the rest of the board if we could do a third-party evaluation. That third-party evaluation is going to cost money. It'll be money that has to be approved here. It's unbudgeted money, but it's for the sake of public safety. I believe we've reached a point where we need an outside party to come in and do a full evaluation of where we are with our fire services, and either tell us you're fine, you're not fine, and if you're not fine, here's what you can do to improve from a standpoint of the citizenry, the fire services itself, the commissioners, HR. Now, what I would urge, and I've also communicated this to James, is I would urge that we understand what our goals are before we look for a firm. We reach out to ACCG to help us with that, maybe that search, and then we follow our county purchasing policy to the extent possible. I know that's not always 100% possible, but I also ask for the support of the fact that we do this independently as possible of fire services and HR. They're both stakeholders in this, and I believe we need this party to come in and not let one of those 2 parties be their single point of contact. I just want this to be as independent as possible without the influence of either organization. So I just appreciate you doing it. I appreciate you guys putting it on the agenda, Madam Chair. So I look forward to your next report, James. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is there an estimate of how much money this will cost us? Because it's unbudgeted money. And typically when we do, from my experience, when we do unbudgeted money, it can go up and up and up, and somebody signs a check. So, and somebody help me if I'm wrong, we just hired a new fire chief. And from my conversation, he's been doing an excellent job. And for at this point to go out and spend who knows how much money
A good
to say what? To say that he's doing a great job. And so I guess the question is, and I guess it goes, finance or to James, to our interim county manager, is there an estimate of how much money this may cost?
As of right now, no, Commissioner, there is not an estimate. However, the thought process is what we would do is first engage with a couple, ACCG and some other entities to see what that price point is. And then that we'll go from that point, either we come back to the Board of Commissioners, ask for approval based off the policy, the purchasing policy. If it exceeds that purchasing policy with that amount, then we have to do a RFP and we'll follow that protocol as well. But always we'll come back to the board for update and approval as we proceed forward.
Thank you, James. I just want to just conclude on this. You know, I personally, I want to say this board, I've been under investigation, and like when you do unbudgeted money, and they budget something like, what was it, $250,000 to investigate me. And the same van that they were riding around every day to investigate us for, looking at it in my yard. It's still in my yard because it wasn't their van, but yet people were making money. And so I'm just a little skeptical when it comes to an investigation like that. I personally would prefer if we ran it under the under the sheriff's office, if them give us an opinion as for the way that we should go. Because I think right now, going out spending all this money, are we not comfortable with our HR? Are we not comfortable with our fire chief? And so, you know, and from the firefighters that I've heard from, they're looking at a warrant to go on strike because they feel like that we have not heard them talking to us. And so I'm skeptical about all this money, unbudgeted. And the word unbudgeted money means unlimited money that we're going to be spending on something. Thank you, Madam Chair.
persuaded. Yeah.
Just real quick to add to that, since January, I've heard from quite a few sheriff deputies, police officers, firefighters, different employees for the county. And this, I've talked about this and asked Mr. Brown questions about how we could do this. And I think we can lean on ACCG for this and get a lot of resources for it. I think it's necessary for morale with our different departments. I think it's time to do an update. Things change quick. Things change quick with policies and how different non-emergency personnel have done. We've had a lot more emergencies in the world than we used to have. So that's some of it. So I do think that it's very important. I do think that fire services, one of the things I found out, is a very unique group. And I think it's something that that they need special attention that's directed towards them. I've done a lot of research and a lot of Googling, a lot of AI and everything on fire services just to understand more about some what our fire. It's not a problem with the chief. I don't think that is an issue at all. Not one person said that. They just think that it's different policies and procedures that we have internally in that section that we want to look at. And we've had a couple of those come up this year. We've talked about them with this board. So I think it is a necessity that we do it. And I'm happy that we can kick it off and find out, get discovery and find out what it's going to be to do this particular. I think we get a lot of resources.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So no, I'm very satisfied with our chief. As I stated in my opening comments, our current issues, perceived or otherwise, perceived or real. That's what we got to find out, right? We got to understand if they're perceived or real. Our current issues transcend all those chiefs, all the three chiefs that have been here since I've been here the last 8.5 or 9 years. So I'm very satisfied with our chief. I don't know. This is a more than a two-headed coin. This is fire services. This is to include employees, to include leadership, to include HR, to include policies, to include all those inputs that keep us, our homes and our properties safe, right? So I don't feel like right now all those things are pulling in the same direction. I don't feel like we're pulling, maybe even including the board. I don't know. So this is not if I was not a fan of our chief, I would tell you, but that's certainly not the case. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Doctor.
Madam Chair, that's the end of that discussion, correct?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, the next item we have is item number 14. We have 7 minutes for item number 14, but it's the discussion of grant updates provided by iParametrics. The presenter will be our acting county manager, Mr. James Brown.
Great.
Along with Mr. James Brown, we're also going to have Ms. Kennedy, who will be working alongside him for the presentation.
Hello, everyone. How are you today? Hello to the commissioners that I know, and hello to the new ones that I have not had the pleasure of meeting. My name is Kennedy Shannon. I'm the Vice President of Community Programs with iParametrics. We're the consulting firm that was brought on to assist you guys with your American Rescue Plan Act funding, as well as your grant writing and research. So for this particular agenda item, it was asked that we provide an update on grants, and specifically the grant for the Westside Youth Facility, or what we're calling the grant for the Westside Youth Facility. I've provided documentation to you all that I'm sure you all have had an opportunity to review. But overall, the summary is that there was a grant awarded back in March of 2023 in the amount of $4 million from Congressman Johnson's office as a appropriations congressional set aside for what at that time was put forward to be the Westside Youth Facility. The application was filed by then Commissioner Saunders with an idea of having this youth center put in District 3, I believe. From that point, we reviewed the grant. It was later determined that Commissioner Saunders had applied for the grant without bringing it to the board as a whole. That there had not been a vote of the board as a whole to pursue the grant. So we were asked to take a look at the grant that had been obtained, what we could potentially do to move forward in that direction. March 30th of 2023, I sent an email to Chairman Baines at the time, telling him that the project lacked readiness. There was no site identified, there was no building pending, there was no engineering, there was no budget, there was nothing. It was just an idea of a youth facility. A lot of the congressional set-aside projects have to be what they call shovel-ready. They should be projects that are ready to go. When you ask for this money and the government gives it to you, you should be able to hit the ground running. This project was far from that as you could possibly be. I think it was more of an idea and a desire to have a community center, but it was not an actual project. From the period of March through October, there were numerous meetings before the board about this issue. There was, from my understanding, there was also never a vote to accept this funding by the board. So I'm not exactly sure we even, and by we I mean Newton County, even accepted the funding from Congressman Johnson's office. But at any rate, October of 2024, there was an email from a representative of Congressman Johnson's office citing that they were going to withdraw the funding. And the reason they were withdrawing the funding was that there had been no previous environmental review completed. There was no project site identified. The project deemed not funding ready. And the application was not properly authorized by the designated county official at the time. That would have been the chairman of the board, Chairman Baines. And so that's kind of where we are with this particular grant. My understanding is that the funding is gone. I don't think it is an option for us to get that funding back. I know that there was an email at some point between Patrick and Congressman Johnson's office. I don't know where that kind of took off, but it's my belief that that funding has since been gone. As an update generally about what we've been doing in grants outside of Westside Youth Facility. So since our engagement, we've won about $1.4 million in grants for the county. We got an email today, actually, another almost $2 million that is coming from Congressman Scott. He put forth for his congressional allocation, he recommended us. We have another $2 million on Senator Ossoff's list, as well as Senator Warnock's list. So That number should potentially go to almost $4 million that we've been able to deliver. And by we, I mean IPR and Metrics have been able to deliver. We worked quite closely with James on some grants prior to him entering the role he is now at Public Works. We worked with the previous county manager, Harold, on some grants as well. We also have worked with the fire department on some grants. So that's kind of what we've been up to at iParametrics as it relates to grants and the county. This kind of goes into the next line item, but as you see, there are a number of unpaid invoices. And so I think where the confusion lies is that we bid for your grant research and writing contract. Inherent in that was the ability to be able to search grants, because you can't write a grant if you can't search for a grant. Our contract is silent on the search part. So it says we can write the grant, but it's silent on us searching for it. It was our understanding, and we had a meeting about maybe 5 or 6 months ago with someone from Patrick's firm. I can't think of her name, Patrick, the young lady that also helps you out.
I'm not, it could have been one of many.
Yes, well, at any rate, her and Randy and Brittany, and we went over our contract. And unfortunately, you can't write a grant if you can't search for it. So on average, we bill about $2,000 a month for searching for grants. That's us literally going through and seeing what's out there. Grants are released every week. We have to be able to dig into them to see if they're a good fit for you. We meet with all the departments to see what their needs are. But if we don't have that ability to search for those grants, how can we write them? Most of the grants that we've written from you have been grants we found for other clients in the state that we've called you and said, hey, we think this will be a good fit, because we stopped searching because our invoices for search had not been paid. And so that's part of what we're coming here today, is to say, hey, can we either, again, it's our position that it's in our current contract, the grant research and research portion, or the grant search portion. But Brittany says that we need to have some clarity on that so that those invoices can be paid. And we provided copies of those invoices. If you see, they're anywhere between $2,000 or $3,000 for the month, and it's grant search. And we itemize which grants we search for, what departments we search for. And so we're asking, one, that those invoices be paid, and two, that it's an understanding going forward that in order for us to write these grants for you, it's inherent that we be able to search and look for them to be able to write them for you.
I apologize, but it's 7:30.
You got to go into, okay, so
So we can.
I'll come back.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We don't. Pues, we shoot in that fight. Silver.
Mr.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, and members of the Board of Commissioners. We have one zoning case this evening. It is an appeal to the Planning Commission's decision. In this case number APP 25-000002. This case, it was a revision to the preliminary plat for Tom Low Farms that was presented to the Planning Commission. And actually what the applicant is asking for today is if this can be tabled for 60 days and then come back before the board at that time.
5 reason. Can't be done for those on equity.
If you'd like, you can move to table it. And I don't mind filling in a little information. I received communication from their counsel mid-afternoon or mid to late morning today. And they are, that being the applicant's attorney, is exploring and having their engineer explore options to either keep the second entrance or otherwise address the plan to avoid the need for all of this, but they don't know yet if they'll be able to achieve that. So they want a little bit of time to work through that process. So if the board's inclined, you can table it or you can proceed. Today, it's the board's decision.
I'd like to make a motion that we proceed and hear the petition tonight and not table.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Long, seconded by Rusher Anderson. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yeah, cool.
That was unanimous.
So, thank you.
Right.
So our case number this evening is APP 25-000002. The previous case numbers were PP 23-00001, and there is a land disturbance permit, LDPR 25-000004. And the name of the applicant for the appeal is Al Halsford from HFG Development, LLC. The original case number that went to the Planning Commission was PP 25-000001. And this applicant also for that case is also Al Holtzford. Property owner is Thomas Brown, Mary Brown, and Louis Brown. Location is on Bird Road. There are several parcels of Bird Road. The tax ID numbers are 0059, 002, 0059, 002A, and 0059, 002C. And those addresses are 381, 435, 441, and 453 Bird Road. So the proposed use is single-family residential. Existing zoning is AR, agricultural residential, and they are proposing to have an open space conservation overlay. The Yellow River is the current watershed. Low-density rural residential is a current area. They're proposing 1.29 lots per acre. Total number of lots will be 93 on 120.23 acres. And this is located in Commission District 3 and 5. And again, the request is appeal to the Planning Commission's decision to deny the preliminary plat revision, which would be PP 25-00001, to remove the second entrance for Tomlow Farms. And the original request, again, was for the revision to this plat. So their request is to go down from 2 entrances down to 1. And just a brief history. On June 27th of 2023, the Planning Commission approved the preliminary plat for this open space conservation subdivision with 93 lots and 120 acres. So that hasn't changed. On March 24th, 2025, they held a community meeting over at the historical courthouse. The petitioner or the applicant, they explained what the revision would entail, which would be the removal of a second road, and they explained how they thought that would benefit the county residents, also shared their concerns about development's impact on increased traffic along Bird Road, which is congested highways of speed, as it frequently uses a cut-through route. Excuse me. They also mentioned the effects of removing the second road, resulting in the danger of having only one access point into and out of the subdivision in event of an emergency. Others spoke about the traffic being bottlenecked. Some mentioned environmental impact of developing a bridge over state waters, as well as the impact of drilling on residential wells. And several spoke about the impact on wildlife and potential harm to water quality. And clarification was provided by the county staff to residents regarding the difference between the proposed revision as well as the process for resubmitting a plat, because that question did come up. On April 7th, a final plat for phase 1 was filed by the developer with our department. And what this actually means is that the plat is now vested, so the preliminary plat will no longer expire. The original preliminary plat that was submitted. On April 22nd, Planning Commission, they tabled PPP 25-00001 for 30 days. And then on May 27th, they made a vote to deny this revision proposal. So again, the site is currently largely farmland undeveloped for most of the lots. It's comprised of 3 adjacent lots, each with a single family home on them. Total acreage is 120. And it is surrounded by both developed and undeveloped single family lots. And the parcels, we have the parcel ID numbers that were mentioned earlier. And of course, and they are proposing 93 single family lots. And the character area is low density rural residential. And this is an appropriate use for that residential as well as the zoning is appropriate, the AR. So the original plat was approved once again on June 27th. And the proposed plat revision is showing just having one access point. And then what they have done after meeting with staff and transportation and fire as well, is that they will widen the entry road coming in to include an additional center lane, which will accommodate the fire apparatus in event of an emergency. And like I said, this was approved by our transportation department, our fire department, as well as development services. And just based on staff comments, with the original approval on June 23rd, that plat, as we said, is now vested because they've submitted their final plat. And they've submitted a revision, as stated above, to remove one entrance and to widen the main entrance in there. So from the transportation department, their comments were the second entrance to the subdivision, it does not serve a purpose other than to technically meet the current ordinance requirement of 2 access points for more than 30 lots. The second access, it doesn't meet the intent of the ordinance, which is provide better emergency access and improve traffic flow. They have saying that it's too short or too close to the other entrance to be of any benefit to the entire community. And the street also requires a stream crossing, which will be expensive for the county to maintain and or to replace in the future. And the long term, they're saying it will benefit public works as well as the county and government services to grant the requested waiver. In meeting with the fire marshal, the updated project drawings, they were reviewed and approved, and the acceptance of these plans, it does not relieve them of installing or applying the applicable codes or standards for our local requirements. And the final approval is pending verification of a field inspection, and also they're requesting they have the correct signage needed within the subdivision. And we briefly went over comments from the community meeting. These are comments from the planning commission meeting. So we have residents who voiced opposition at the planning commission meeting in May of this year. And of course, items of concern included increasing traffic, congestion on Bird Road, removal of green space, loss of wildlife, the impact on local streams, and the impact of continued residential development on quality of life for neighboring homeowners. And of course, the ability to serve a growing population with schools, law enforcement, fire, and public works. And the recommended conditions. The proposed preliminary plat has been reviewed by Development Services Department for compliance with all zoning and the subdivision requirements pertaining to the building design and layout. An updated plat which shows removal of one access point was presented to Development Services. This design, after being reviewed by the Transportation Department as well as Fire, it was approved. And it was determined that it would be in the county's interest to not have it at this time. So should the board approve this petition in accordance with the county ordinance and the development regulations, staff would recommend approval of the plat revision subject to the following conditions. So should the Board of Commissioners grant the revision to remove the second entrance, then ensure that the fire apparatus still has the ability to gain proper access to the property, ensure that a center lane is added to the subdivision as approved by the plans, ensure that signage is provided as per the fire marshal, and prior to obtaining a land disturbance permit, all comments from the Newton County Development Services staff, Transportation Department, the Water Authority, Environmental Health is applicable, Newton County Fire Department, the Georgia Arson Water Commission, U.S. Army Corps as applicable shall be addressed.
Yeah.
So these are the lots that we're looking at. We have the 4 parcels that will be combined for this subdivision. Current zoning is agricultural residential. This is the plat that was approved in June of 2023. So it shows the 2 entrances, 2 access points. I'll go back. So it shows that this is the 1 access point here and this is the second one here. And that's what the Transportation Department was pointing out, that they're close together, but that's all the road frontage they have. This is the proposed revision where they've revised it to 1 entrance with a widened lane here to include a 3rd lane that goes up to this street here. And they're no longer crossing the stream at the top. This is just a clearer picture showing. So the second entrance came across the stream over here. So that is what they have asked to remove. And this is just a close up showing the middle lane that they're adding as requested by Fire and Transportation. And if there are any questions for staff, if not, this appeal is a public hearing.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Applewhite. Question, you and I spoke today, and you said the reason why, and just explain, this is something I knew, I've heard, I'm not sure if the board knows this little caveat that you told me today. I asked you, since the plat was from 23, and most likely it should have expired in June of 2025, there was an 18-month something put on it. What is that called, and what is that, and where is it? Where is it in our UDO? Because here's my point, is we had a first plat for this property, and it was approved in 2023. So when we're saying approved, the second one that was brought to us is not the same. So when you have a first plat that's approved and you bring a second one with all these changes, it's not the same plat. So how did they automatically get it? And it's a different person that's bringing it. We have a whole different group bringing it. So how does the first plat factor into that if the second plat is completely different people and changes?
So once a preliminary plat has been approved, it is valid for 24 months. It isn't who owns the plat, whichever developer it is, that is not a factor. What happened is that the developer, the current owner, they move forward with filing their final plat for one phase of the development. And there is a section in our regulations that specifies that once they file that plat and we've moved forward with reviews and everything, the preliminary plat is now vested, won't expire.
Okay, so that's the part right there is, so the original group was filing for their final plat, and then the second group came in just right kind of in the middle of that. So y'all were looking at the final plat the way it was done in 2023, right?
No, the second group has filed the final plat and it's only for one phase. So
wait, time out. So what I'm trying to say is the first person got it zoned in 2023, they had 24 months.
Yes.
They were in the process, the first group was in the process of getting a final plat. They did not. So
they were in the process of doing a land disturbance permit for the entire subdivision.
Okay, so just a minute ago, when I was saying it was a different person and it was a different situation, it sounded like you were telling me that the reason why they got this extension is because they were on the process of doing their final plat, but this is a totally different plat.
There's no extension at this point. Instead of going for a plat extension, they opted to go for a plat revision. And what they've done is that they have phased the subdivision out. So we have a phase 1, and then we'll have a subsequent phase. And they have filed a final plat for phase 1. And once one part of the
is right.
Sorry.
The front of the subdivision would be phase 1, right? Because you got to go to the front.
It is the one lot that's facing the road. Our ordinance doesn't specify how many lots can make up a phase.
That's fine.
But it does say that once they have, started that process, they file the plat for a final phase.
The phase 1 would include the entrances, right? Because if you're going into the development to make it the development, you got to go in. So is phase 1 the front of the property?
It's right here. It includes this and this first entrance going in here. It's one of the parcels there.
Okay, so they're called that phase 1 over there. Okay.
We should up here. I'm sorry.
It's fine. I think what you're saying is the first entrance and the first leg of this thing is the first phase. Is that what you're telling me?
Down here, yes.
Not this whole thing, right?
It's not the entire subdivision, yeah.
Well, where is the first phase? Is it just the leg over here and this second one, or is it
one lot?
Okay, that's what I need to know.
Yeah.
It's the boy. It's just thanking these two.
And this is a public hearing, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Madam Chair, we are going to revert back to Ms. Kennedy Shannon. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. That's you. So we are going to actually start the public hearing where we hear from citizens or the representative for the first 10 minutes that are in favor of this. Again, the first session is going to be for 10 minutes. The timer is going to run for the representation or citizens that are in favor of this.
Would you state your name, please, for our record?
Members of the commission, my name is Kurt Feldstuhl, here with Smith, Cambrell, and Russell, 1105 West Peachtree Street in Atlanta, here on behalf of the applicant. I apologize for that. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. We had requested a deferral. One reason was for what Mr. Jogstetter had said. Another reason is that when we're reviewing what we want to make sure is that this appeal is properly positioned and in terms of just following the rules of your ordinance. And when we looked at the ordinance, section 1605-100, access management, which identifies the number of access points, which is why we're here today, there is a statement in that section of the ordinance. It says a further reduction in minimum access points may be granted by the Board of Appeals upon a finding of reasonable hardship. So there's two things I want to make sure that we're clear about. We think this should have actually gone to the Board of Appeals instead of the Planning Commission. So we don't think it's properly before you at this point, and that's part of why we request that deferral to talk with staff. Second reason is that the standard for approval, regardless of which board it's in front of or whether it comes to you, the standard for review is hardship. And we're happy to talk about hardship, but just so we're clear, that is the standard that we are talking about. The other thing I want to do as sort of setting the stage for this, and I apologize for going through this. This is the lawyer in me, that this is a quasi-judicial proceeding. It's an appeal. It will be on the record. And the record really is based on that standard of hardship. So the evidence that we're considering is not whether folks, for example, like the zoning, that sort of thing. It is a question. It is a question of hardship. And so we're clear. And I think we all understand this. This plat is already properly zoned, and it's already been approved for 93 single-family lots. That won't change. So what we're here to talk about, really the only thing we're here to talk about is the access point and whatever the evidence is on the record. Again, our request is for deferral so that we can get properly positioned, but for this board to hear it. But you've already taken the vote to go forward, so we do want to talk about that. So since this is a record discussion of the issue of hardship, I want to talk about what the evidence is. And that evidence is that your staff, your planning staff, your transportation staff, the fire marshal, have all recommended approval that entrance be eliminated. The report from your staff has really stated that the only reason that there's a requirement for two entrances, the only need for it is to meet a technical standard, but it serves no purpose and does not benefit the public. The fire marshal likewise has agreed that the entrance should be removed subject to the conditions or the improvements that we've agreed to make to the one entrance, which is, generally speaking, but it's in the record, a widening of that first entrance. So there is no evidence of a need for the second entrance in this case. In fact, your staff has concluded the opposite. In terms of the hardship, it's really a hardship for the county, and it's a hardship for the developer. And that is that second entrance is going to have to span state waters, which the staff does not want. We don't want it because of the expense. Your staff does not want it because it will be an expense for the county to ultimately maintain or see that's maintained. It's an expensive bridge, and it unnecessarily crosses state waters. So the evidence in the record is that there is a hardship. That hardship is an unneeded, unnecessary expense for the purpose of an access point, which your own staff has concluded is not needed and will serve no benefit. And with that, I will reserve any remaining time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would also like to speak in favor of this at this time? Okay, that portion of the public hearing is now closed. We're now,
Opposition.
that portion of the hearing has now closed. We are now going to hear from those opposed to the request. All those opposed to the request are invited to come address the board, and there will also be a total of 10 minutes for those in opposition. You may now come forward. Please give your name and address for the record, please.
Madam Chair, members of the Board of Commissioners, my name's Danny Stone, and I live at 476 Bird Road, which is directly across the street from this development. Another developer submitted and got a preliminary plat approved more than 2 years ago. What I'm hearing now is that they have submitted a final plat of one lot. One lot. We know that 93 are eventually going in over there. They're trying to do the one lot to get the second entrance away because our ordinance says 30 to 300 lots. Doesn't say must. It doesn't say may. It doesn't say can. It doesn't say preferably. It says 30 to 300 lots shall have 2 access points. The developer knows that there is a moratorium in place. The final plat was submitted with one lot to get around that stipulation. The thing to me, and I've sat here, I went through these things. And as the moratorium progresses, I'll be glad to sit on a committee to review these things. But the whole thing with this is, if you're gonna sit up here, you're gonna pass ordinances, you're gonna put stuff in place, and then you're not gonna abide by it, then that ordinance is worthless. It shouldn't have ever been written into our ordinances. The thing that's gonna happen here is that if you approve this one entrance, then you're gonna have a Pandora's box, because every other developer that comes in here is gonna say, well, you approved it on Bird Road. So why are you denying it for me?
Yeah.
The thing about our Public Works Department, I know those guys, most of them down there. They work hard. They can maintain this. The developer doesn't want to put it in. It's going to cross state waters. It's going to cost him a lot of money. And there are houses on the backside of this thing. What I saw at the first plat that they presented to widen the road to 3 lanes, it was only going about 1,000 feet into this subdivision. There were 82 lots beyond that point. If something happened beyond there, those folks in the backside of this development have no way to get out. There's a medical emergency, there's a fire, there's a power pole that falls across the road. There's no way for these folks to get out. So I would beg you to look at this, have the fire marshal look at it. I just don't see that we can take an ordinance that's in place and just turn a blind eye to it. And that's what we seem to be looking at tonight. I appreciate what all y'all do. As I say, I've sat there, I've done it. It's hard, but I appreciate it very much. I reserve the rest of my time for some others that would like to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stone. Is there anyone else at this time who would like to speak in opposition? Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Mark Gardner. Do you hear me all right? I'm at 650 West Macedonia Church Road, Oxford, Georgia, 30054. I'm in opposition to this Development. The appeal to the Planning Commission's decision to not allow a change in the Tomlin Farm development for the purpose of eliminating one of the entrance to the development is, according to current regulations, a request for a major change. Request for a major change is defined in section 620-040 procedures C2A and 3B, D, E, and H of the Newton County Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 1 Zoning Ordinance, and major change as is defined in Chapter 2 Newton County Development Regulations, Section 1415-035, revisions to the preliminary plat 2D, and therefore would require a new approval process. Newton County Development Regulations, Section 1605-100, Access Management, C, minimum access states, except as otherwise noted in subsection 2 below, all developments shall have access to public right-of-way. The number of access points shall be as follows. Residential units 31 through 300 should have 2 access points, local street or minor connector. Reference Newton County Development Regulations, Division 1200 definitions, Section 1200-010. Interpretation of certain terms and words. B, as stated, the word shall is always mandatory, and the word may is permissive. The question of this hardship that the applicant is proposing is a hardship that they brought on themselves. Knowing that the original applicant abandoned the project for whatever reason, it is the responsibility of the current applicant to know and understand the county requirements and conditions of the subject property. To claim hardship under these circumstances is more than disingenuous. Please review Newton County Development Ordinance, Section 605-030, which involves powers to the Board of Zoning Appeals. It also addresses variances. I would like to also submit this consideration to the board. The original preliminary plat permitted was in violation of the Newton County Development Regulations, Section 1605-100, Access Management, which requires 2 points of access for residential units of 30 to 300 home sites. The preliminary plat fails in providing this access to more than 80% of the proposed home sites within the development. Only about 13 building sites are serviced by the 2 access points. The purpose of the requirement for 2 access points is to provide for emergency access as referenced in Newton County Development Regulations, Section 1605-100, Emergency Access, E. In light of the failure and or mistake to correctly interpret the purpose of the standard by the Department of Development, the Planning Commission, the BOC, and the county attorney at the time the preliminary plat was received, the BOC should call for and cause the nullification of the original project proposal under the Newton County Department Regulations, Article 4, Procedures and Documents Specifications, Division 1400, Application, Section 1400-005, Authorization C, as quoted. Any permit issued in error or in contradiction to the provisions of the adopted code ordinance, or regulation of Newton County shall be considered null and void upon its issuance. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have limited time left. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition for the remaining 55 seconds? Thank you. If you would, please provide your name and address for the record, please, and speak into the microphone.
Thank you. John Glass, 490 Stone Lee Drive, Oxford. Lived there for 27 years. I see some of my neighbors here. Been there longer than I have. My concern is really not with the accesses. It's with all these houses coming into what I consider the country. We're all in well water. And I don't know, hopefully somebody will look into that and where's all this water going to come from? That all these houses are going to suck water out of the ground. So right now we have good water. I welcome people to the county, but where's the water going to come from? So, all right.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Glass. Madam Chair, would you like to revert back to the last few minutes if he would like to rebut to any of the comments?
Yes.
If you'd like to come forward and utilize your last few minutes, if you'd like to rebut or clarify any questions that were presented in opposition.
Thank you. Is 5 minutes the amount of time? Is that right? Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So again, I want to just make sure that we are considering what is required by this proceeding as a quasi-judicial proceeding. And as part of the reality, we are living by the rules that the Board of Commissioners adopted. I know there may be frustration over the final platting of a lot, but those aren't rules that we made. Those are rules that we are living with. And there's always an option, of course, to change those rules. So this is finally platted. The plat does not expire. The other rule, while respectfully, the opposition has talked about the fact that there's words like shall in terms of minimum access points. There's also a provision in your own ordinance that says a further reduction in minimum access points may be granted by the Board of Appeals upon a finding of reasonable hardship. So hardship is the discussion. And hardship is identified in the fact that we've got a bridge that is spanning, a requirement for a bridge that is spanning state waters, a costly bridge that your own staff has said serves no purpose other than to meet a technical requirement. Your own fire marshal has recommended approval subject to the conditions which we've agreed to, which is widening the access point, and that satisfies both the fire marshal and the transportation department. So from our perspective, that is the evidence in the record. We are living with the rules that have been adopted by the Board of Commissioners, and respectfully request that the application either be deferred so that we can make sure that we're properly set up and we can continue to work with the county, or that the appeal be reversed. Thank you.
Thank you. This portion of the public hearing is now closed. Ms. Applewhite.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I've made a lot of notes here. One of the things that's important to me is when we have rules, we need to keep with the rules. You'll hear me up here many times say, why do we have rules if we're going to change things? Why do we have a land use map? We're going to change things. And I know every side has their story. You know, the people that want something can see their side of the story and pick through the ordinance and find what they want. And the people that don't want something can pick through that and find their side of the story. You know, I feel like the only hardship here is that there's, a development cost that you're trying to make. And first of all, we don't have a fire marshal. The state fire marshal looked at this, and we all have emails that we sent to our fire chief And he says that we need to abide by the ordinance and have 2 entrances, and we have that. I would like to make a recommendation to deny the plat based on the UDO rules and regulations. And I do not feel like there's any hardship at this time.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Long, second by Commissioner Henderson. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, we are going to revert back to, we are closing out item number 14 and transitioning into number 15 because they coexist. Request for approval of payment to iParametrics, grant-related services provided to Newton County. This again will also be presented by Ms. Kennedy Shannon with iParametrics.
Thank you. So, while I had time over there, I was able to kind of go through a few things. So, back in August of 24, I met with Jennifer McCall. That's whose name I was trying to recall from Patrick's firm. In addition to Randy and Brittany, and we went over the RFP for the grant writing services that were issued, that we replied to, and we looked at the scope within the RFP. And in that scope, it says to explore and write requests for funding opportunities, federal, state, and local, identify, define, and develop funding sources to support existing and planned programs, research grant prospects and advise clients on which ones to approach and how, research and identify grant opportunities based on funding amount needed, location, and organizational projects. So that's what's included in the scope of the RFP that we replied to and was included in our scope of when we responded to the particular RFP and when we got the contract. So even in the scope that you guys put out for the RFP, it says that grant writing and research is part of that. So that's what we've been doing, and we've been working towards that end, and we just want to get paid for the work that we've done. So that pretty much sums up 15, but I'll open it to any questions because I talked about 14 and 15, so I will address any questions for either option.
Thank you for coming before us. I remember hearing you speak before I became a commissioner this time around, and I was very impressed with you. So hopefully we can keep our partnership going. Do we have an idea of how many months this is, that this total amount is? Do we know? Nobody said dates, like how many months are we being charging back?
It's probably over a year.
Okay, so we have an invoice. We don't have it in our packet. That's why I was asking. I don't have an invoice in here.
Yes,
Just curious.
the outstanding balance, I think it dates back until about November-ish, somewhere around that time frame.
So you're charging us 33, but we've
That's
gotten
the total of
right.
all the invoices for the
But we've
past.
gotten a tremendous amount of grants from you because I wasn't here.
Absolutely.
And I think you have done a great job. So that was one of my questions, that we don't have that invoice here. But I am definitely impressed with what you do.
Thank you.
Mr. Eunice.
Well, first of all, thank you, Ms. Ken, for coming. I just want to just say, when we were talking earlier, and you kind of made mention about former Commissioner Sanders, and you said that she didn't request board approval. And I was still on that board then, and I think we've had our conversation. There was a thought that she had made board approval, but she came and she apologized. That this board, members of this board, she apologized to them. And she said, if I did anything wrong, please don't take it out on my district. Say, and she asked the board, and nobody other than myself was support her on that grant that she got from Hank Johnson office. In fact, it was my understanding that you don't really need a grant writer to go to his office or interim office and get a grant. You can talk to them and they will work with you on grants. That's my understanding to this day. And so there's some things that I think the interim county manager and I are talking about the grant writer from the congressman office, which is not Hank Johnson, it's David Scott, comes over and talks, or supposed to come over and talk to us about grants and do quite as well. So, and they give you a booklet. I think Hey, Commissioner Long, you know the protocol. They give you booklets on grant that you can go through, any commission you can go through and look at the grants that you wanted. But I had thought, and this is me, I'm not the board, but I had thought that this would kind of end it with the author funding, and that we wouldn't be paying out of general fund. Are we paying out of general fund somebody? Are we still gonna pay this $33,000 extra dollars for the general fund?
Yes, that's correct, Commissioner.
So the thought that I had, that this wasn't supposed to come from general fund, it's supposed to came from the author funding. And if it was gonna come from general fund in additional monies, I thought we had to have some kind of board approval. That's my thinking. But, and you said something about $4 million for grants. What grants that you?
So if I could respond, just for
Yes,
clarity.
ma'am.
So we had two contracts with you guys. We have a contract for the American Rescue Plan Act funding, and we have a separate contract for grant writing, which is paid from general fund. So to answer your question, there are two separate. We have completed our work on the American Rescue Plan Act direct programming, but we are still doing grant writing. To also answer your question about, do you need to be a grant writer in order to complete an application? No, you don't need to be a grant writer to do any grant application. It would benefit having a grant writer to do any application. So giving you an example, the applications are pretty simple. We only bill for the time we spend. So for that $2 million that we got you, we probably billed you $3 grand for $2 million. So as far as bang for buck goes, I don't think you're getting shafted in that regard. But also, you mentioned the other grants that we've gotten you. So there have been some water grants that we've gotten you. There have been some grants to expand Brown Bridge Road that we've worked with James prior to him even getting in this position. We worked with him on. So there's a list of grants that I can provide that we've been successful with getting you. But if you look at our overall billing, it's not even 5% of what we've gotten you in grant funding. You guys are definitely getting a bang for your buck as it relates to grant. And some grant writers actually want a percentage of the grant that they get you. We don't do that. We bill like law firms bill you. We only bill you for the time it takes to write the grant or to complete the form in the case of congressmen and senators, and that's what we bill you. And if you get $2 million from $3,000 worth of work, congratulations for the county. That's what we're here to do for you, is provide that service.
Well, absolutely. But the grants that you're referring to, especially on Brown Road, we had been promised those grants anyway. And, like, for example, I wanted some grants. It wasn't used the other grant writer. She would give me grants that I could do myself. She said, well, you can get some grants from Walmart. You go to Walmart, they give them to you anyway. If you want to give them to your 501c organization or to the county. But what I'm saying is that from my perspective, I'm not talking about from somebody's perspective. I think, and we've had our conversations. And I know personally, you have been kind of rude to me. We talked about the author funding, and you were telling me you were going to file a lawsuit on me and all that stuff. And you know what I said? I said, just bring it on. And especially about some of my constituents. And the home repair, one of my constituents called me. So you went to some fruit gazing. Called me and said, JC, come on my house and look at what kind of work that had been done to my home. I said, yes, ma'am. Came to the house. The woman was not but over cheap glass and was shaking up and down. And she called the folks and they said they're going to sue me because I came in responding to my constituents. And I said, well, y'all, you need to do a better job. And I found out that if you're doing some work the county paying for, or maybe even the city, you need to get somebody from the city or county come in and look at it and make sure that all the work is did up to standard. But I think trying to make accusations from you and your staff to me about responding to my constituents. That's the reason why I was elected. I wasn't brought in and paid. I was elected to deal with the concerns of my constituents. And that's what I want to do. And I'm just gonna say this. I don't have to like nobody. But if I'm a Christian, I have to love everybody. I don't have to agree with what you do or where you do it. I wouldn't. And I'm just gonna end with this. I did not vote for money to come out general fund to pay somebody to get a grant that I believe anybody can get a grant for. And I'm gonna just say this. I just want to commend Commissioner Sanders. She worked tirelessly and hard to try and do something, and she made all kind of obstacles in trying to do a little park in a district, and they just didn't want to do it for the citizens of District 3. And I'm hoping and I'm praying that they get, for once in her life, a nice park. It should be where she wanted it, but get a nice park in that district. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So I was good. Yeah, so Do you need a motion? Yes, I do.
I'm in real estate, so nothing goes for free. So I would like to make a motion that we pay this contractor the money that's owed and continue our relationship with this contractor.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have
Second.
second? Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I forget about you over there in the box.
No problem. I just want to have that brief speed before so we got into stop. My colleague, Commissioner Henderson, and thank you for that. And thank you, Attorney Shannon, for your presentation. I do want to just remind the board that we do have a grant policy and procedures in place. And that grant policy and procedures, it specifically states that the appropriate county department will coordinate with the county manager to determine the necessity of the application for any specific grant. It also states that the appropriate county department will prepare the initial draft of the grant application, which includes at a minimum of it, give some follow-up. And so I think what I want to bring out that this grant was not submitted appropriately and according to the grant policy that is in place. So we all know that as a Board of Commissioners, when any time a grant is submitted on behalf of the county, that grant is brought before this board, and this board has to give approval to submit for the grant. So once the grant is approved and it comes back to this board, and this board has to scrutinize it and say, okay, well, are there any matching funds? If it's not, what are the things that we need to meet the criteria, the qualifications of the grant, and then we approve to accept those funds. But what I can say about this grant, one, it didn't come before the board. This board, there are no minutes in any minute or any meeting that says this board approved for the submission of this grant. There also are no minutes that says that this board has, it has been brought back before this board to approve or receive those funds. So when you really look at how this grant was done initially, it was done out of order. And it went against our grant policy. And if we are policy makers, and if we set policy in place, then it would behoove this board to follow that protocol. So I understand that there was an apology made, and that's great. I appreciate the apology, but it also goes back to the grant policy that was put in place. It was also stated that we had selected a site. There was no site select in the initial application. It was also stated that there was land assessment in the initial application. That was not done. It was also stated that former Commissioner Sanders had signed the application to actually have it submitted. Per our grant policy, the only person that can sign for any grant has to be the chair. None of that was done. And so I want to make it very, very clear that this grant was not done correctly. And so this board should not be engaging in anything that is not abiding by the grant policy that has been set in place. These are federal dollars. You don't play with federal dollars. You don't submit information that is false just to get funds so that you can look like a hero. That is not what this board is set in place to do. And so I'm just saying, and I want to make it clear, that we've got to follow the policy. And that was not done with this particular grant. So I just want to make that known and put that on register. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards, was that a second from you? Okay, we have a motion was made by Commissioner Long, Commissioner Edwards seconded that. Any more discussion? Hearing none,
Madam Chair, let's see.
No.
No, thank you. Well, I just want to say, you know, and I know Commissioner Sanders, you glad you out from up here because these people gave you hell. They gave you pure hell just trying to do something good. And we're talking about a full, yes ma'am, let me say this. Yes ma'am. We're talking about only $4 million that District 3 could have used to do something really positive in it for its citizens. Instead, it just went back. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, that's for all opposed. All right, Commissioner Henderson opposed. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to state for the record that District 2 Commissioner Damon Mason is virtually representing District 2. He is attending a conference and is participating in voting remotely at this meeting. To ensure District 2 has representation, I wanted to make sure that that was on record because there are questions to make sure that he was being acknowledged virtually. Moving forward, Madam Chair, we're on number 16, and that is going to be citizen comments. It's going to be open to Newton County citizens, and of course, it is allotted 3 minutes each. Once the 3 minutes up is exhausted, we will ask the next participant to come up and speak.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elena Sanders. What I find ironic is that we can have a whole meeting that's recorded and people will still get up in here and tell stories. We in that March, I'm glad she mentioned that meeting, March 23rd meeting, voted for that funding. I also have emails from the county manager. I have emails from the county attorney moving forward. That funding was voted in by Congress, not the Board of Commissioners of Newton County, Congress. And in order for money to be transferred, it has to go back before Congress to be allocated. So my question to our county attorney is how is funding that was allocated to Newton County being reallocated when there's an expiration date we have not even met yet? So that needs to be answered. And then we're talking about meeting with the congressman in 2025, that should be done. Also, if you go on my page, which I posted that actual video from that meeting where we hired the consultant to man the contract, to man the grant, and to attend all the meetings. She stood in that meeting and said, you all confirm the land. It would be a disservice to lose $4 million because we have $8 million. You have until August to submit the property, and then you have until September of this year to submit it again. We have had multiple meetings to select property. When that grant was submitted, I was conversing back and forth with our consultant for the property, our project manager who had selected the land. You all didn't want to go with it because you have an issue with the person, because there's issues here in the county between families. Then it came back right before I stepped out of the seat in November. That project manager came before us and you all voted to put it's actually a project, it's not an idea, it's Splash 2017 project. You came back before us and the project manager said, we're gonna put both of the projects together for us all to do that. So it's very ironic that we would get up here and tell stories when we have evidence, and that's why they call me the receipt keeper. Look online and all the evidence will be there again.
Denise Williams, P.O. Box 1442, Newton County resident. I have a question for legal Patrick. Since they're saying that the contract was, the grant was done wrong, this board, the previous board voted to pay our parametric for the consulting fees. So I want to know, is that money going to come back to the county? That's my question. And I will make that in the form of an open records as well.
Barbara Morgan, 2158 East Street, Covington. This is a rhetorical question because I know you're not in a position to answer citizen questions when I pose them. I am very much in support of the objection to the annexation for the truck stop, but what standing does that leave us in now that we've objected? What happens next? Can we stop it? I ask rhetorically.
Mark Gardner, 650 West Macedonia Church Road, Oxford, Georgia, 30054. So as I've explored concerns with regards to the Tomlow Farms project, I've received information through an opens record request, which caused me to have at least more than, maybe twice as many, 100 to 150 different concerns regarding the process of that project. And I really don't know where or how to bring them forward in order to get some resolution on it. In addition to that, with my open record request, I had made a request on, I think it was a Monday. The following Monday, I hadn't heard anything from the Department of the department I requested the information from. And I emailed my request to all the commissioners. Within 2 hours of that email to the commissioners, I don't know who did it, but I got a phone call from the Department of Development saying they would get on it and I would hear something. I would receive something by the following day. Unfortunately, I also, because of they said they were unable to respond to some of my questions, they referred me to environmental health, which I did make another opus request for the information I was seeking on a Wednesday, this past Wednesday. As of today, I have not received any information. I had a meeting with David Hornsby on Friday afternoon, but I haven't received any documentation from that department. Now, the question with regards to open records request, there is an enforcement policy. Any person knowingly or willingly fails to respond to an open records request may be found guilty of a misdemeanor crime act and fined up to $1,000 for the first violation. Additional civil and criminal penalties may also be imposed. I think that because of the inability of these departments, these folks, not being able to respond appropriately, there ought to be more than a slap on the wrist to get them to do their job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Monica O'Neill.
Could you use the bell lighting? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Monica O'Neill. I reside at 40 Muirfield Drive in Covington, Georgia, off Highway 81. And I wanted to ask about the project that's going along Highway Salem Road. How would I educate myself in finding out information in reference to how long the project is supposed to be and what that looks like upon completion, as well as within our community, we see a lot of gas stations and liquor stores and wing stores that's coming up everywhere. I wanted to see if there's who would we talk to about getting more healthy restaurants within the community as well. And then lastly, I want to ask about maintenance along Highway 81. I understand from the last meeting that and correct me if I'm wrong, that it was budgeted to hire additional maintenance crew. And so I wanted to see if we can have a more frequent, consistent process as far as maintaining the lawn along Highway 81. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mary Copa. I reside at 55 Merville Drive in Covington as well. I have two requests. One is for Highway 81, again with the lawn cutting, people throwing trash, somebody picks it up, and it looks terrible. I called a numerous amount of times to get somebody to come and cut. They said they only cut twice a year. But we need something more because we all have to keep our properties up and our entranceways up, and I would like to request if somebody can do something about that. Also, I would like to know how to go about finding out how to get a stop sign on Salem Road and Cowan Road. That's a death trap. Because of all the building of houses, it's a lot of traffic there. I know when I first moved there, it was very little traffic, but there's a lot of traffic. People cannot get out, and somebody's gonna get killed because they speed up when they see people trying to come out. They won't stop. We need a light at that Salem Road and Cowan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, commissioners. How you all doing today? My name is Landis. I'm in Oxford, Georgia. First of all, thank you for all y'all hard work that you're doing. We have a big thing approaching us with the UDO. We must work with the community. We've had moratoriums before, and unfortunately, we didn't get a lot done in the past. This board is working great together, and I think we can get a lot accomplished, and it's very important for the future of our county. So all of us as citizens, we can support you guys, anything we can do to help to make our county better, to make sure we have the county that we want for the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank John Glass, 490 Stone Lee Drive.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay, John Glass, 490 Stone Lee Drive. Thank you for allowing me this quick indulgence, and I'd like to, with respect to Ms. Morgan, who prompted me on this, the truck stop that was in proposal and the annexation and all, my feeling is I hope that the commission doesn't have a negative attitude towards truck stops in general, and it's more of a brick store overlay issue and all that that's previously planned. I know it's not Rockdale County. I remember when Rockdale County, there was a proposal for a truck stop there at Sigmund Road, and one of the commissioners, when it was voted down, one of the commissioners said that they didn't want the first thing people see when they come into Rockdale County to be a truck stop. So you've probably all been to truck stops, you get gas there, use the restrooms. So hopefully that's not the issue, anti-truck stop. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, the next item we have on the agenda is actually board comments, and we can start with District 1, Commissioner Edwards.
Excuse me. Thank you, Madam Chair. So to address the last gentleman's comments about the truck stop, several years back, it may have been as long as 3.5, 4 years ago, Jones Petroleum, we met with Jones Petroleum, and we hammered out what we thought was an agreement that did not include a 24-hour truck stop element. And all of the prostitution, child trafficking, sex trafficking that comes with that. I've spoken with Morgan County. They've got 3 of those things, and this Morgan County Sheriff's Department tells me they're trouble. So we did not want that element even without speaking to the Sheriff's Department in Morgan County. So we thought we had hammered out what Jones Petroleum and what I thought I could take back to the board and put in place to have a nice establishment within the brick store overlay, within the guidelines of the brick store overlay. Well, it turns out, as of a couple of weeks ago, when we found out that they had applied for annexation in the social circle, that just simply wasn't the case. So Mr. Jones, Bill Jones, and I, that's Bert Jones' father, of Jones Petroleum, he simply walked away from what I thought probably would have been, a deal or an agreement. And I find it appalling, absolutely appalling, that a citizenry can say, we don't want that element in our neighborhood. We don't want that element in our county. And the citizens of Social Circle reached out to me and told me they didn't want that element, even in Newton County, because they use that thoroughfare as well. I find it appalling that a company in the name of the almighty dollar will say, we don't care what you want. We don't, and even after the citizenry stood up and said, we don't want it, and the commissioners that sit up here voted the element of the truck stop, the 24-hour truck stop, down. Essentially, Jones Petroleum has told us to go take a hike. We don't care. We're going to pursue this almighty dollar at all costs. We don't care what you want. So here we are. We're going around you. I don't know how. I can't comprehend. I can't comprehend the thought process other than the worship of the almighty dollar. So, it's beyond aggravating for me, frustrating, angering to me, would be a better way to put it. And now I will say, Mr. Jones and my meeting all those years ago wasn't pleasant, but I saw him later at a UGA football game, I think, and we shook hands, and he slapped a campaign sticker on my shirt, and I walked on, and he walked on. But here we are, some years later, and now we're before social. He's taken it to Social Circle, and basically thumbed his nose at us. So that's kind of where we are. It's not fun. We're in the process of objection. You heard that vote here tonight, and how that process plays out, we'll have to wait and see. But I will say, I don't think I'm stepping out of bounds when I say this. It's also contingent upon the annexation of the property just north of I-20, which is in District 5. So that annexation has been contested as well, and still being contested today. So it's totally dependent on the outcome of that particular case. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. I think one of the things I'm still getting a lot of phone calls about the Salem Road project. I think we need to put something out, let the citizens know it's a DOT project, because I keep getting calls as it's a county project. And also, I'm getting phone calls about how the gas station we get in the district. So I think there needs to be some, hopefully when we do our UDO, there's something in place that all these service stations, I know we got 4 on each, one on each corner, right across the street from each other. And also we need some restaurants, and I hear that a lot as well. So those are some of the things that I see that in the district that we really
I want to apologize to you for all the moving you had to do tonight, but our air has not been working here or over in the courthouse, and the courtroom would have been a lot hotter than it is over here. But we appreciate you coming and staying with us. But that just could not be helped. It just happened at the last minute. So thank you for working with us and for being here tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to talk to it's about our taxes. We all talk about taxes, and most of us, myself included, if you have a home of $240,000 to $250,000, it's about $94 more. If you have a home up and up and up, it's a whole lot of money that we're having to pay. And that's one thing I want you to think about, and maybe some of you who can't afford it, to think about it, is there's going to be a whole lot of foreclosures in our county. And the rich folks are going to get a whole lot of houses cheap, and depending on if they go down an interest rate, I think it's September, it's probably going, it might even out a little bit. But nevertheless, can we afford to do it? And these are people that we put in office. Got to be somebody. And I understand some say, well, JC talked too much, or JC said, but it's got to be somebody care about you.
Right.
Got to be somebody. And I'm going to just say this in closing. You're being taxed to death. even when you take your recycling stuff out and you pay $173 a month, a year for your recycling. That's just another tax. If you think about it, we're being taxed to death. And nobody really seemed to care, but this old man right here, J.C. Hennessy. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, go ahead and throw something in on that. Everybody's concerned about taxes. We all are. And we're going to talk about taxes until my colleague over here talks about taxes. Every time I have a meeting or we do anything, I talk about all the projects that everybody wants, all the parks, everything. All those are wonderful things. I think they are great. We need those. But the counties that have those have a millage rate at 18 to 22%. We have one that we were able to balance and keep down at 8.6%. This board all worked together to keep that millage rate down. I would have loved to have no increase. That was my vote, but we have to work together to do certain things. And our county is growing and we need to add services. But to get every service we want and everything that we talk about up here, every park, every aquatic center, every kind of splash pad, all that costs money. And then you got to have people run those things. And then you have county, you have the parks all over the place. You need to try to keep them centralized. That's why we have Turner Lake, because it was a centralized park. And when we started this county 25 years ago with these projects. So as far as taxes, I think we're all concerned about taxes, but we also have to the decisions we make up here affect your taxes. If we keep adding all these things and all these projects, then we're going to be at 18% millage rate. So it is a balance that we're all trying to keep. And I think it's an important balance because I'm tired of paying taxes. I'm tired of paying them to anybody. It's not, I hate that word. So I think it's very important. The truck stop. I'm like Commissioner Edwards. I'm just appalled that we're dealing with this truck stop for the third time. I was a citizen that worked very hard with the Board of Commissioners to have that truck stop stopped. And I had a lot of help from a lot of commissioners, former commissioners that helped us on that truck stop. And I really do appreciate it. And I don't want to see it again. And just to know that we're going through this again is just appalling to me that we're dealing with this. If a community does not want something, I'm opposed to all truck stops, but this especially is not the right place for them. In fact, we have an ordinance in Newton County that we don't have truck stops. So, travel center, I would love to have some coffee on the corner of Highway 11 right now. So 3 years ago, we gave the approval for a travel center there. And it's supposed to have 2 anchors on it. So that would be wonderful if that would come. And I hope that Social Circle will take a good look at this. And whatever they choose to do is up to them. But a travel center is what needs to be there. And when we get through all this litigation, then we can sort it all out. But to just add a truck stop, because it's 5 miles from your city limits, doesn't mean that somebody doesn't care. So I just wanted to put that on record too. I'm really upset about that.
You don't like that. Thank you. Commissioner Mason.
Commissioner Bison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to reiterate, Ms. Ham mentioned earlier that I am currently at the National Association of Counties Conference, representing as the Vice Chair of the Community Economic and Workforce Development Steering Committee. And so I have not returned back as of yet. And so I wanted to just say that the work that we do within the steering committees for the National Association of Counties is amazing. And so I'm just excited to announce that I submitted a proposed resolution during this business meeting, this session. The proposed resolution was supporting the temporary allocation of funds to support local homeless shelters. We know that homelessness remains a pressing issue in counties across the United States, impacting individuals and families in need of shelter, food, and essential services. The purpose of this resolution is to help allocate funding to local homeless shelters. Local homeless shelters play a critical role in providing emergency housing, job assistance, healthcare access, and rehabilitation programs. And so the National Association of Counties urges Congress to provide funding to help enhance local homeless shelter programs for their wraparound services. And that's all across the United States. Any homeless shelter here in the United States, urging them to provide that funding to kind of help them. I'm happy to announce that this proposed resolution was approved by voice vote on Friday, July the 13th, 2025, at our annual business meeting on last Friday. And so I'm excited to see the National Association of Counties present this proposed resolution to our U.S. Congress. Hopefully it will become law. If it becomes law, then of course they will determine how much of that funding will be passed down to our homeless shelters. We see that on a federal level, a lot of our monies are being taken away from certain programs, and who knows, our unsheltered population may potentially increase. And so we want to make sure that we are able to support this particular portion of our community, and not just to provide shelter, but to have wraparound services where once they are there, we are providing them with resources, we're providing them with skills, training, working with our technical college to give them the training that they need, getting them on the jobs that they need where they can increase their revenue. So this really should be temporary housing and not long-term housing. And so I think if we can provide the funding that we need from our federal government to be able to help support this area of work, the hope is that we can actually bid for individuals that are unsheltered in our communities all across the United States, give them the help and the resources that they need so that they can become independent and be acclimated back to the community. So I just wanted to share that as well. And also, I have one last thing. We are going to be having our next movie in the park. It's coming up at Eddie Dobbs Park on Friday, the 25th. Next Friday.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Mason.
Giving out backpacks. So we're excited to be able to invest into our.
Your time is up.
I'm sorry, his time is up. I meant to say a few minutes ago, to thank our maintenance staff. They have worked tirelessly to try to get the air fixed for us, and we really appreciate them. And we have someone here tonight that's waiting on all of us to leave so they can get back to work. But do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Did you get all that? Okay, all in favor? Thank you.